Hello, my name is Angela and I am the Program and Events Specialist for Girl Scouts Heart of Michigan, covering the Kalamazoo and Jackson regions. And today I am here to walk you through the steps for the Brownie Painter Badge. So it's time to get out those paintbrushes and that paint, and we are going to make the world a little more colorful. So we're going to start with step one. And one of the options is talk to a painter. And well, guess what? I'm a painter. So I'm going to share a little bit about what I make as a painter and a little bit about why I make those things. So the first thing I want to do is answer the question, what do you like to paint? And one of the things I absolutely love to paint is nature. For about 15 years, I did education for a park district, and I was outdoors all the time. I was surrounded by the beauty of plants and trees and animals and water, and I will tell you, sunsets and sunrises. And there is no way when you are surrounded by that every single day, you can't take it on as one of your main inspirations for your artwork. It's just impossible. And so nature is definitely top on my list. But there are two other types of painting I absolutely adore that are not necessarily subjects, but styles. Oftentimes they do lean towards the natural world, but they're more like my style. I absolutely love making paintings that are a little bit whimsical. Happy. I like looking at art that makes me smile. And so I tend to like to make art that makes other people smile. I like the idea that it's got a little happiness to it and celebrate some of the neat things about the subject matter I am painting. A good example might be this painting right here, which this is obviously not the original painting. I do not have the original painting. It was a gift for a family member. And obviously it's a bumblebee and honeycomb. And I would not call this a serious painting, but it definitely would make you smile, and it's definitely celebrating the geometrics of and the organic side of the life of a bee. So that's an example of something whimsical. I also, here's another example in that same series. Something a little cartoony, a little fun, a little whimsical. Definitely something to enjoy and make you smile. So those are two examples of sort of the whimsy I like to paint. The other thing as styles go is I really do love to paint an abstract. Let me find an example of that. Typically when I paint an abstract, which means it doesn't really look like anything, or if it does look like anything, it looks like a really bizarre version of it. Example of artists who paint that way might be Picasso with Cubism. And one of my absolute favorites is Paul Klee, I always do that, Paul Klee, who did a lot with line and kind of creating something recognizable out of random lines. So basically what I like to do is create like a sketch that's scribbles of lines, and then I challenge myself to find something realistic-ish inside that. So a good example of this would be this painting here, which obviously all of these are printouts of the originals. Or say this one here. So these were originally sketches done in pencil that were lots of random lines. And then I went in and I found the final image within, well, for lack of a better word, the line scribbles. So I like that challenge. I really find that very inspiring, and I guess just motivates me to work harder to see if I can come up with something new and interesting. I do some realistic painting to a point. A good example is actually behind me in the window. I will actually pick that up and bring that over here. This is actually the painting. So I don't know how well you can see it, but this is actually a painting I, for once in my life, did for myself. It's a cabbage white butterfly, and something I saw a lot at my old job. And I will definitely say this is probably one of my favorite things that I have ever painted, just because I love the subject matter. So I definitely do try to do some realistic things. Another good example of me doing realistic artwork might be my lovely painting here of my coworker's dog. Although this is obviously a printout and the printing isn't beautifully perfect, but this is what I've got to work with today. So yeah, definitely like to paint nature, and I think dogs count in that. So some other examples of nature. This is actually a house plant, but it's still nature. Definitely an interesting subject matter, considering that it is a plant that has variations and lots of color. This is a very tiny copy of that picture. I'll put it up closer. Another example I have in front of me is also this. This is a very big painting, but this is a printout of it. An image from one of the parks I worked in with one of the signature lampposts in it. So definitely do some somewhat realistic paintings, but also I do abstract, and I definitely enjoy doing things that are a little more, I think in school, my instructors when I was taking art classes would have said more graphic and whimsical. But those are my favorite types of paintings. I also have quite a passion for photography, and I do find that helps a lot with my composition for my paintings, which is something I highly recommend to folks, especially girls who are starting out painting and figuring out what they want to paint. Photographs can be really helpful, and learning how to frame a photograph and all that can really help you with composition of your paintings. Now, I have a really important question for you, and that is that I want you to think about what you saw as far as my paintings go. I want you to think about what you liked about them, whether it was, the lamppost that's very simplistic from the park, or the dog that's very realistic, or maybe even the abstract of the trees with the sunset in the background, or something as whimsical as my little bee friend here. What do you think of these? What's your opinion? Think about how you feel when you look at these paintings. What do they say to you? Now, I will tell you, that's a really good question to ask an artist. If you meet an artist at an art show or at a gallery or at a museum, asking them, what do they like to paint? Why do they paint it? And what inspired them to do it? Because sometimes you'd be surprised what brought people to painting. Now, I also think you should ask yourself those questions, because obviously if you're making something, there has to be a reason why you make it. And so sometimes we get into things and we don't really know why we're doing it, because we just decide to do it. But usually that's not the case. Usually there's something about it that you really like, or something that spoke to you, or it connects to a story or a personal memory, or it's a challenge, or it's practice to get better at your technique. All of these things are legit reasons for making a painting, or any art for that matter. So I want you to think about that and answer those questions for yourself when you make a piece of artwork. So today we are going to move on to step 2, and we're going to actually make some art. And in order to do that, there will be some things that we need to do that with. And while you're making that artwork today, whether it's step 2 or step 3 or step 4 or step 5, guess what? Ask yourself those questions. Why did I pick this subject matter? Why did I choose these colors? Why did I pick this paintbrush? Or why did I use this that, well, isn't a paintbrush to paint? Or why did I pick this emotion that I'm deciding to illustrate? These are all things to ask yourself when you're making your art as we go through the rest of this badge. All right, we are going to get started with part 2 now. In this section, we are actually going to paint. We're going to make our own landscapes. And in order to do that, we need some supplies. And because we are going to use paint, and paint is messy, we need aprons. So this is one of my very loved and used aprons. You can see there's paint, there's probably clay, all kinds of stuff on this thing. And it has been washed, and it still has clay and paint and all kinds of things still on it. So that's why we wear aprons, because we don't want to get paint on our good clothes. Obviously, one of the hardest things in the world is to get red paint out, as you can see in this. Red is one of those pigments, that's the color in the paint, that just doesn't like to let go when it attaches itself to something. Even if your paint is washable, red can be a very hard one to get out. So I highly recommend an apron. If you don't have an apron, pick clothes you don't care about getting messy and dirty and covered in paint, that you don't care if the color comes out of. An old t-shirt, an old pair of pants, those are appropriate things for painting. Something you do not care if it gets damaged. So I'm actually wearing my apron right here. See? She wraps around my neck, and then it ties in the back, and it covers my lap. So it's a really, really, really good thing to have. It also has pockets, so I can hide supplies in it if I'm standing up, if I'm not at my workstation. So definitely important. The next thing we need to have is actually something to protect the surface of your table, or whatever your work surface is. Honestly, I have done paintings on my coffee table. So whatever your work surface is, you want to cover it with something that can protect it, because you don't want to have to try to clean paint off of a piece of furniture that you love or that your parents love. So tablecloths are wonderful. These couple buck from the store that are sort of plastic and they have a felty back. That's what I have on this table. I don't care what happens to it. It didn't cost me hardly anything. I can get paint all over it. It's pretty easy to clean up. So when I have wet paint on it and I don't want it to get on anything, I can wipe it off with a baby wipe. Another option is just putting down newspaper or other sheets of paper, even making I've done this 8.5 by 11 white sheets of paper and taping them together big enough to cover the area that I'm working on, so that I am protecting the surface of whatever furniture is underneath. Now, the nice part about that too is that you can overpaint whatever your canvas is, whatever your paper is, whatever your surface you're painting on. You can overpaint onto whatever's protecting the surface, and you don't have to worry about it, which is great because we're going to do that today. Now, the next thing we need is something else that has to do with the fact that painting is messy. Messy, messy, messy. Actually, just art in general is messy. So paper towels are your friend. You will need a roll of paper towels. It is the thing that will clean up any spills, any messes. It will absorb water from your paintbrushes when you go to clean them and change the color. It is great at dabbing up spills on your artwork, especially with watercolor. Sometimes the water gets so pooled on your paper and you need to get it out of there. And you know what? There is one other option that works really well, and it's my favorite, and that is baby wipes. I use them basically the same way I use paper towels. And what I love about them is that they're damp. So when I need to clean up my space really quickly and I need to remove like wet paint, it does it a little bit better than say the dry paper towel does. But also when it dries, it's still usable like a paper towel. So they have a much longer life as far as helping you do a painting because you can keep using it to clean off your brushes and things like that even after it's dry. So I'm a big fan of baby wipes, but I do use both. In fact, if you don't have either, I've even used toilet paper, although I know that's a precious commodity. So there are a lot of options. Really, honestly, I've used rags as well. I mean, pretty much anything that absorbs water is an important thing to have where you're painting. So you can clean up those messes and keep going. Yes, when you make art, you make a mess, you clean it up, so all day long you have good luck. Now, the next thing you need, obviously, paintbrushes, because we are going to paint in this part of our badge. And traditionally, painting is done with brushes. And it is going to be a lot easier to do this part with brushes. So, obviously, you could have one this big, it's flat. You've got tiny ones and round ones and flat ones. I mean, there's all kinds of different types of paintbrushes. Diversity of paintbrushes is helpful, but not necessary. And honestly, I realize some of you might not even have paintbrushes. So some options might be, oh wait, look, fingers. So what I really recommend, because you could paint a whole painting from your hands with your fingers. Honestly, I've done it as an adult. I fully realize you're all going, I did that when I was 2. Well, there are artists out there who literally paint huge canvases with just their fingers. Do they do it though with bare hands? No. Because most paint is not good for our skin. It's not good for our insides. So they wear gloves. I highly recommend getting on that interweb with permission from your parents and looking to see if you can find an artist who finger paints. Now, the other option is maybe something you find around the house like a Q-tip. Those are also very good options for painting if you don't have a regular paintbrush. But also we are going to look deeper into this in part 4, so don't forget those 2 options for non-paintbrush painting. Now, we've talked about paintbrushes. It is time to move on to the paint. So today we are going to also use acrylic paint as our paint. One, because it's super accessible almost everywhere. I mean, stores that aren't even craft stores carry acrylic paint, especially craft acrylic paint, which is a little thinner consistency. And it's not expensive. It's very cheap. In fact, oftentimes a little bottle like this is less than $1. So we're going to go really basic because really you don't need a lot of colors to paint a painting and get a lot of colors in the end. So what you need is red, blue, and yellow, your primary colors. Your primary colors can all be mixed together to make other colors, like say your secondary colors. What's this when it's mixed together? Green. What's this when mixed together? Orange. Wait, we did this one, didn't we? What's that one? Oh wait, I think I know what I missed. Oh, what's this when mixed together? Purple, my favorite. So those are your secondaries, green, purple, and orange. And then there's something called tertiary, but we aren't going to get into that. That starts to get really complicated right now. So the other colors you need are black and white. And of course, these are going to create your darks and your lights. So if you mix this in, it's going to darken up or it's going to lighten up. Your hues and your tones come from your black and your white being added to your paint. So now we have our paint. Now, the next thing you need is something to put your paint on. I have a plastic palette. You can see it's plastic. I can pour a lot of paint in these cups. But obviously, you might not have something that's specifically meant for paint. So there is a really, really good option. It's called your recycling bin. Yes, we love the recycling bin. In fact, there's some really important things we need that can come out of the recycling bin, say our palette. So think about your cereal boxes, your, I don't know. Oh wait, I think I have. Let me reach over here. Oh my gosh, a Girl Scout cookie box. How perfect is that? So this would make a great palette because the cardboard's thick so that the paint won't soak through it fast and break the paper down. That's one of the issues with using plain white paper to do any painting with, because the liquid in the paint and the water will break down the paper. So there's a coating on this as well. Most of these boxes today, the printed coating on them will also help repel the water from breaking the box down. So this is a great thing to use as a palette. You can squirt your paint right on it and work on it and mix your colors right on it. It will do the job. If you want a bigger palette than this though, I highly recommend a bigger box like a cereal box. So check your recycling bin. The other thing that you can pull out of your recycling bin is your water cup. So I have this lovely water cup with dirty water in it already. And it's meant to be a water cup. It actually collapses for travel. But if you don't have something like that, you just need a cup that you don't care gets paint all over it and gets all gross and yucky and disgusting. And so a really good place to find something like that is your recycling bin. So look in your recycling bin, see if you can find a plastic cup. A yogurt cup is a really good option. They make perfect water containers to clean your brush in. And finally, the last thing we need is a canvas, something to paint on, a surface that we can paint on. So what we're going to do is go back and revisit our box out of our recycling bin. So please go find a box out there in your recycling bin. And we're going to turn this into our surface we're going to paint on. And obviously there's lots of color on this. And what we're going to do is cover that all up. So now I am going to move on to the next step, which is turning this cardboard box or any cardboard box, as this is kind of a small canvas. I don't want anything this small. I think I'm going to go see if I can find another box and turn that into my canvas. Okay, here's my cardboard box because the cookie box is smaller than I want it to be. This is actually a quick view of a Lego box. That's what I'm going to cut up. I've already used part of it for another project, but I'm going to use this and I'm going to cut it to make it the size I want. So now I have my cardboard cut out. Now you can obviously use this side or this side. We're gonna use the blank side, but you could do the same thing on the blank side. But I actually really want to just cover up the logos and stuff. I don't want to look at that, so I'm gonna paint on the side with the logo. Now what we're gonna use to paint this is a big fat flat paintbrush. It's the easiest way to do it. Now, it could be a small flat paintbrush. It could be a medium-sized flat paintbrush. I even have this giant one, which make this go really fast. But if you don't have any of these and you only have a tiny little round brush, you can still do it. It's just gonna take you a lot longer. Now, what we're gonna do is we're actually going to paint over the graphics on here, and we're gonna paint it black first. And we're gonna put a couple layers on. It's gonna take some time and we're gonna have to let it dry. And then we're gonna add some white in there. And honestly, even if it's not completely dry and you add some white in there and it turns gray, that's okay. We just really just wanna cover up what you don't wanna see, which is all that graphics and imagery from the product that it used to be the box for. So we're going to get started. So now my cardboard is getting pretty dry, but I'm starting to be able to tell. I can still see some of the graphic that's underneath it. So I'm gonna do another layer of paint. You will probably wanna do more than one layer of paint as well, but that's up to you. Check out how your canvas looks and then go from there. So I'm about to apply my next layer. So we are going to, now that we have our canvas painted and now it is all dry, we are going to start the process of actually making our painting. So what we are going to be painting is a landscape. A landscape. It's kind of two words, land and then scape. It is a classic style of painting, and there are many types of scapes, most common being a landscape, but you'll often see things stuck in front of scape, like cityscape or seascape, like as in the ocean. So So when you think about a landscape, think about the outdoors and what you see. Think about whether a landscape is something that you're focused really close in on or if it's a big picture. Landscapes are typically big pictures. They're vast and they take in a lot of the scenery, thus the scape. And typically a landscape is outdoors, thus the land. So that's what we're going to paint today. We're going to paint a landscape. If it's a cityscape, it's a vast image of skyscrapers and city things, human-made, human-built. If it's a seascape, of course, as I said, the ocean, and vast with sky and water. So the landscape has 3 parts. Actually, so does a cityscape. It has 3 parts. And so does a seascape. It has 3 parts. So guess what we have to do? Figure out what those 3 parts are. So it's a landscape. So obviously there's land in it. So when you think of a picture of outdoors in a landscape, typically, it's not a trick question. Is there something way, 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 way back in the back? Is there something way, 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 way in the front? Oh my goodness, you can't see my hand? Wait, all of a sudden, looking at this image, is there something way, way, way back in the back of this image? Like, say, my head and my hand right here? It's way in the front of this image. And then wait, oh look, my other hand is now in the middle of the image. So this guy right in the front, this is the foreground. This guy right here in the middle is the middle ground. And then my head back here is the background. So they're not trying to play any tricks on you. They're pretty obvious things. Foreground, middle ground, background. And that's what we're going to paint today. We're going to paint that foreground, middle ground, background. Now, we discussed foreground, middle ground, and background. And now we're going to apply those concepts to actual images. So I'm going to use this photograph to start. This picture is actually of the wetlands restoration at Pearson Metro Park in Oregon, Ohio. It is a restored wetland. It's quite an amazing place to visit and watch change throughout the seasons. And the sunsets are spectacular. And what you're seeing in this picture is foreground, and then these little black trees back here, that's the middle ground, and then all of the sky is the background. And I think this is a really good illustration of the fact that if I was out there painting this, I would have about maybe a third of the page is my foreground, and about a teeny tiny amount of it is my middle ground, and a giant amount of it is my sunset, my background, my sky. So these do not get split up naturally in every painting or image evenly. Your foreground, your background, and middle ground can take up differentiating amounts of your landscape. So another example would be this painting here, which is actually inspired by this photograph and was painted on, hey look, a cardboard flap from a box I found in my recycling bin. So in this one, I'm going to put my photo down. You have your foreground where the flowers and the green is, and then you have the background where the dark shaded woods and forest are, and then you have your background with the sky and the sun. So you have your foreground, your middle ground, and your background. And this is a different amount as well. The sky is still very big in this one, but there's a little more evenness between the foreground and the middle ground in this painting. Now, the next one I'm going to show you is another painting I did, which is similar to what we're going to do today. This is also from a cardboard box found in my recycling bin and painted on it. So in this picture, actually, the foreground is really this tree, this big tree. There isn't a lot of other foreground. Really, the middle ground is this giant area here. Behind that tree, giant area. And then there's a little bit equal in sky in the background. So you've got your foreground in this tree, your middle ground, and your background back here. So this is a landscape. And this is actually basically what we're going to do today. Once my cardboard is dry, then I paint it over. Of course, yours won't look like mine. Yours will look like yours. And you're going to make your own choices as to where maybe your trees go, or your water goes, or your trail goes, or your hill goes, or your clouds go. All of those things are up to you. So let's get started with our paintings. All right, now my cardboard is dry, and I think this is pretty good surface. You cannot tell what was underneath here. I have no clue anymore what this graphic looked like, and my paint is completely dry. A good way to test is run your hand over it and go like this, and yes, my hands were already dirty, but there's no blue paint on here. So cardboard is now prepped and ready to go to be painted with our landscape. So the first thing we're going to do is our background. And actually our background, this is that moment where having that tablecloth or those papers underneath what you're painting is going to come into play, because we're going to overpaint when we do the background, just like we did when we did this and covered up all of that logo print stuff from the original packaging. So the first thing we're going to do is I want you to think about the sky, because we're definitely doing an outdoor landscape and the sky is our background. So what colors are in the sky? What do you think of when you think of the sky? I typically think of blues and whites and grays on a cranky cloud day, or some purples. Sunrise, you got yellows and orange and reds. If it's nighttime, it might be a dark, dark blue, or a black, or a dark, rich purple. Excuse me. So those are the kind of colors you want to think about in painting the background of your landscape. I think what I'm going to use is some blue and some purple and some white. I'm feeling the purple right now. So I'm going to put my canvas down, and to do this part, the paintbrush I highly recommend is the one that you used to cover up all of that graphic stuff, to paint with the gray and white and black mixture of layers that we just did. So this flat wide brush, but honestly, as I've said before, any paintbrush will do. It's just going to take longer if it's smaller. Or if it's bigger, it's going to go by really fast. In fact, I might try this. So one of the things I have to do first, though, is I have to make purple, because I want a purple sky. So let's take some red. And if we're going to make purple, we want to take the red, which is the weaker color in this combination, and then add the darker to it. When you do it the other way around, you often waste a lot of paint. All right, there's some purple. It's pretty dark purple. So you want to see purple. Could use a little more red, I think. Okay. That paintbrush in my water, and we are going to get started. All right, so it's been about 10 minutes and my paint is basically dry. Did the hand test and no blue. So at this point we can draw in. This is where a pencil comes into play. Very lightly draw in our foreground and our middle ground. Typically, I like to first mark in my horizon line. The horizon line is the place in a picture where the sky meets the earth. So, an example would be in this one. Here's my horizon line right there. There's the horizon line. That one's pretty obvious, but there it is. Horizon line, horizontal. Oh, I swear, language doesn't always try to mess with you. Then, let's see if I can pull that other one out. If it lets me. This one, the horizon line is actually right here. So we just need to put in our horizon line. And it can really be anywhere on your cardboard canvas. So I'm going to put mine, I think, right here. Just gonna draw a light line. You can't even probably see it, but I can. Right across here. Okay, so I can see it. It's really light, but it's there. So now I am going to start the part where we draw in the elements of our background, our middle ground, and our foreground, particularly the details and such. So let's get started. Okay, here is, oh, I'm upside down. Look at that. So you can see I've sketched in a really big tree right here. You can kind of see the light lines, obviously very loosely sketched in. There's a tree right here with kind of weeping branches. There's a tree right here that comes all the way down here. My horizon line's just right here. So it's very hard for you to see, I know, but you can kind of see the light reflecting off the pencil. But you want it to be nice and loose. And I almost forgot, I drew in a path as well. So there's a path that goes up behind this big tree right here on the edge. So that might be waterway too. I'm not really sure. I'm still making that decision. But I know I want something that's either water or a path right there. So all of that's sketched in. And the thing is, yours doesn't have to look like this. Your loose sketch could be, the trees could be wherever you want them to be. The land masses could be wherever you want them to be. I've taught this landscape quite a few times. And I have some examples from different times I've done this. Of course, this is going to be very different than this one. And it's going to be very different from this one, which isn't even finished. Most of these aren't finished. These are actually from different classes, done at different times. And obviously, these were meant to be snow scenes. So this one's very, very different. And look at this, very different. So none of these three look anything alike. The others, for the most part, but we all did the same steps. So remember, it does not have to look like mine. It needs to look like yours. So now we've got our sketched in, basic sketches in. Now it's time to paint in our earth. And to do that, we really need brown. That's our next layer. We need brown. Do you know how to make brown? You need to mix all the primary colors together. And the shade of brown is determined by the amount of red or blue or yellow that you put into it. So I'm gonna put this down. I'm gonna mix me some brown, and I'm gonna start painting in the areas that are my earth. So here's where I'm at. I've got the basis of my ground and basic layout of my trees painted in and my trail. And now it's time to turn this a little green. So what we're gonna do is, obviously I need to mix green, and then I'm actually gonna use a smaller paintbrush at this point to do a lot of what I'm gonna do now. So I'm gonna switch between this tiny tip and one of these wider paintbrushes like I was just using, this size. So we'll go back and forth, possibly even throw in a flat brush. So, yep. So I'm gonna put this down. We will move on to adding some green. So I've added leaves to the trees and green to make the grass. And now I'm going to work on giving my trees a little depth. So I'm going to work on this trunk here and the trunks here to try to give them a little depth. I'm going to try to lighten it up a little bit, give it some texture so it looks like it has bark, using lighter tones of the brown and some black and grays and things, and maybe even a little yellow and maybe a little red, who knows, to try to make them pop out in my picture. All right, we'll get started with that. All right, now I have finished my landscape for now, and it's got my foreground items in it, my middle ground back here, my background, and of course here's my horizon line, all those important things that make up a landscape. Foreground, middle ground, background, woo! Show us your landscape by posting a picture of it in the Facebook comments.